the past hour, protesters were seen gathering outside an Immigration and Customs Enforcement processing facility just outside of Chicago.
Broadview, Illinois, just west of Chicago, a quiet suburb that rarely makes headlines, until now. It started as a peaceful demonstration outside an ICE detention facility. Dozens of protesters gathered, waving banners, holding candles, and chanting for the release of detained immigrants. Their message was simple: families belong together. But by nightfall, peace gave way to chaos. What began as a vigil turned into a confrontation that spiraled out of control. Cell phone videos captured it all: the smoke, the shouting, the sudden roar of flashbangs. People running, coughing, screaming. The sound of pepper balls cutting through the dark. Eyewitnesses say it happened fast. Too fast. One moment the protesters were singing. The next the air was thick with tear gas. Officers in riot gear advanced, their faces hidden behind masks, their voices echoing through loudspeakers. Move back. This is a federal order. Broadview isn't used to moments like this. It's a place of small shops, families, and quiet streets. But tonight the calm was shattered by something much bigger. A clash between power and protest, between silence and defiance. A woman's voice can be heard in one video, trembling. "We were just standing here. They shot at us." Another clip shows a man helping an older protester to her feet as smoke rolls across the pavement. The air burns with chemicals. The crowd scatters. But cameras keep rolling. Journalists on the scene reported being caught in the crossfire, pepper balls striking near them even as they identified themselves as press.
I was trying to block her because she was yelling at them. They didn't like that.
Brian Brannon himself got hit several times and was briefly hospitalized before coming back to rejoin the protest, his shirt discarded after being soaked in pepper spray.
I can go home to my family after this, and the people that are inside there don't.
An ICE spokesperson today defending the agents' actions, saying in part,
Inside the detention center, lights flickered as detainees watched from narrow windows. Some waved, others banged on the glass. For them, this wasn't just another protest, and it was a glimpse of the outside world fighting for. Durisi later released a statement claiming the crowd had grown.
It's just terrifying, and myself, who can be targeted? I don't want to have to carry my passport around.
What do we do? The demonstration started inside Congress Plaza Garden near Ida B. Wells and Michigan.
Unruly that agents had used minimal and lawful force, but witnesses tell a different story. They say the escalation came without warning, and the force, far from minimal, was overwhelming. By midnight, the intersection outside the Broadview Processing Center looked like a battlefield. Protest signs lay trampled in the street. The acrid smell of tear gas lingered in the cold October air. Paramedics treated several people for chemical exposure. One elderly protester was hospitalized after collapsing. 2 journalists were detained and later released without charges. But what haunts the city most are the images. A young mother holding her child as smoke billowed behind her. A priest shielding others from rubber bullets. Teenage boy yelling, "Don't shoot, we're peaceful," before disappearing into the haze. Those images flooded social media. Millions of views within hours. Hashtags like Naira Broadview Protest, ICE Chicago, and Not Tear Gas in Illinois trended overnight. The footage shocked the nation. In Chicago's Pilsen neighborhood, community leaders called emergency meetings. Activists demanded answers. And by morning, the city was awake, angry, restless, united in disbelief. This wasn't supposed to happen here. Not in a city that prides itself on being a sanctuary. The next day, local officials condemned the violence. The mayor's office announced an internal review. Civil rights groups called for federal oversight. The ACLU labeled the confrontation an abuse of power against unarmed civilians. Meanwhile, ICE stood by its agents, saying they responded appropriately to threats. But no one in Broadview remembers seeing a single weapon among the protesters. In the following days, stories surfaced of missing people, of families too afraid to leave their homes. Detainees reportedly transferred out of Broadview overnight, without notice. The community began to whisper that this wasn't just about a protest. It was a message. Still, the resistance didn't fade. Every night since, candles have been lit outside the same detention center. Smaller crowds gather, quieter, cautious, but determined. They stand where the tear gas fell, holding signs that read, "You can't silence us." For many, Broadview has become a symbol of fear, yes, but also of endurance. A young volunteer named Sophia, who was there that night, told local radio, "I saw people running and crying, but I also saw strangers helping strangers. That's what they can't take from us." Her words spread through social media, bringing new energy to a shaken movement. Broadview now sits at the center of a national conversation. Federal officials promise an investigation. Activists demand body camera footage. Journalists return each day to document what happens next. Some compare this moment to other turning points in Chicago's history, from the 1968 convention protest to the clashes of 2020. The same questions remain. Who controls the narrative? Who pays the price? In interviews, ICE leadership insists they're being unfairly portrayed, arguing that their officers face chaotic conditions and credible threats. But when asked to release full video evidence, they decline. The silence only fuels more questions. Meanwhile, across the city, new protests form. In Little Village, in Pilsen, in the Loop, people march not just for immigration rights, but for accountability, for truth. And Broadview's name echoes far beyond its borders. It becomes more than a location. It becomes a warning. Every generation has a moment when it realizes the cost of speaking up. For Chicago, this might be it. What began as a peaceful night of candles and chants ended in clouds of smoke and fear. But as one protester wrote on a cardboard sign left behind in the street, "You can tear gas a crowd, but you can't erase their voice." The footage may fade. The hashtags may fall out of trend. But somewhere in Broadview, under the same sky where the gas once burned, people still gather, quietly, defiantly, waiting to see what comes next. And that's the question Chicago is still asking tonight. What comes next?